What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and we are bringing you NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast, reaching over 250,000. That's 250,000 readers of the Jewish Ledger, weha.com, and West Hartford Magazine, live 24/7, 365. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Bob Carr. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Tom. So thanks, Tom. And I want to say that Tom, along with myself, Koshik Makati, Ronnie Newton is a founder and partner in weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine. The various tastes of West Hartford, the best of West Hartford, which will be celebrating its 10th anniversary this November. We'll give you the date a little later. And plenty of fun events throughout the year. Our podcast is assembled by the Modern Observer Group of Middletown, Connecticut. And today our guest is Cathy Davis, owner of Bartlett Brainard and a West Hartford-based home improvement contractor. Good morning, Cathy.
Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
So I read the history of your company this morning. I've known about you for years. Tom's always talked about you. So it's interesting. So it sounds like your grandfather had the company and your father bought it and you bought it from your dad about 20 years ago?
Yes.
And you've been there since 1980, is that correct?
1982.
Wow.
So wait a minute. So I think I just learned something new. Here I am thinking I know everything, right? So Cathy, I don't think I knew about your grandfather. So it was your grandfather first?
So no, this is how it really worked. It's a fascinating story of in 1921, the original Bartlett Brainard started. It was two guys that met at Yale, Normand Brainard and Burton Bartlett, and they met at Yale. They formed the company in 1921, and they just called it Bartlett Brainard. They did some huge construction projects. They also built some homes. So the huge construction commercial building stuff was like in 1923, they started the Hartford Seminary.
Wow.
In 1930, they built the first hangar for Pratt and Whitney.
Jeez.
And in 1938, their building was flooded out. Their offices were flooded out, which was down by the Colt building there in Hartford. And in 1959 was when Burton Bartlett and Norman Brainard wanted to retire. So they sold off the commercial building portion to their accountant, Jim Ecott. So you hear about the big buildings being built by Bartlett Brainard and Ecott. And they're a wonderful company out of Bloomfield. They also sold off their home improvement company division to their general manager, Maynard Plow, at the time. So my grandfather was working for the original Mr. Bartlett and Brainard back in the, 40s and 50s. And right when my dad graduated from high school, my grandfather got my father the job. So my father started as just making storm windows out the back. We were manufacturing at the time. And then my father became a truck driver, a carpenter, and then a salesman.
There you go.
And then he ended up buying it in 1982.
Okay, that's an awesome story. That is an awesome story.
Amazing. And is that the commercial building piece in Bloomfield, is that still in business?
Oh yeah, they're thriving. They're a huge, huge company. Matter of fact, I found out from somebody, it was a fun fact. The beautiful building that's over by the Rose Garden on the corner of Fern and Prospect, Barclay Court?
Yes.
Beautiful buildings. Bartlett Brainard built those.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So when you drive around West Hartford, you see buildings that your family has been building for multiple decades.
Correct. And a lot of the houses that we work on, I somehow find out in history through a customer or something, my grandfather built them. So we work on the house and then we're doing the improvements, 50, 60, 70 years later.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
How
I
is your
like the idea of beautifying, all of, by updating or upgrading, whatever you want to call it. You're basically now 50, 60, 70 years later, updating and beautifying the neighborhoods all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very
what
fun
I was
stuff.
just saying there. Yep. I was going to ask you, sorry I jumped in there, but like we're at the beginning of part of the show here, what are the services that you provide? Like, so that if anybody's listening in, what are the multiple services? Again, it seems like
Right.
everything you do.
Yep. So we specialize in exterior remodeling, anything that's on the exterior, roofing, siding, windows, doors. We do a lot of porticos in West Hartford. People love their porticos. Gutters, storm doors, anything on the exterior of the home. It's kind of fun that way. We're not just a roofer. We're not just a sider. You don't get bored in it because you're always doing something different.
Yeah. I remember in my original, so this was probably your father, Cathy, but in my original, because it was 30 some odd, 35 years ago, dating myself, but I had a traditional, which many homes in West Hartford had back then, screened in porch that you guys converted into I mean, I called it full season, but my wife would probably say 3 season. Not in the time, but it was beautiful with windows and heat and the whole bit. It was just great. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
West Hartford has some lovely porches and the architecture in West Hartford is lovely,
Mm.
especially in the center, You go down like Castlewood and you go down some of those classic roads and I'm a portico geek. So I mean, next time you go down Castlewood, just look at how many different really, really unique porticos and front facades that you have.
Mhm.
They're just fascinating.
Huh. It's fun. You know what? A lot of people focus on, doors in a town or doors in Connecticut or whatever. Portico could be a really cool,
A little niche, right? Right.
artsy type project. Yeah, that's
I see
neat.
a magazine cover. I
I
see a
do
magazine.
Right.
exactly.
Exactly that.
You,
Yeah,
you
there
never
you
you
go.
never know what's going to come out of these podcasts, right, Bob?
Exactly.
Right.
It is kind of fun. You're doing work, and I'm again talk about dating yourself, Tom. I'm doing work for, my customers' kids. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been here 43 years. That's like seems like so unbelievable to say that number, but so now I'm doing work for their kids. They just know who they can trust, They just want to be able to get it done right, stand behind what you do. It's a relief to know that if you have a problem, you have someone to go to. If your vinyl siding fails or a product fails, you've got this resource that's backing you up because in this day and age, it's a frustrating system.
Yeah, absolutely. Our Cathy, our Bobby made me think of this when you just asked her about what is it exactly that Bartlett Brainard does. Cathy, if someone listening doesn't know how to reach you guys, what's the best way to reach you or to contact you?
Well, we're kind of old-fashioned here, so we really do have somebody answering the phone, so you won't get a machine. The office number is 860-233-4475. We're available by Cathy with a C at bartlettbrainerd.com. So those are ways to reach out. I do spend a bulk of my day, and I often wish I could charge for it, giving advice, like Tom might call up and say, Cathy, who should I use for X, Y, and Z, or how do I fix this? I do spend the bulk of my day on that.
Yeah. And it's funny, I can imagine depending upon what the project, it's not always pertinent to what you do. I mean,
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
no.
And it's interesting back to that though. I just have this level of confidence because when I'm part of the home design district of West Hartford. And that's a group of professionals that longstanding businesses, reliable, honest, so I feel really comfortable recommending anybody from the design district, for flooring or any of those things. So
Yeah, and hopefully it's mutual, and they're doing the same
Mhm.
things. But yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Fun. I hate to give selfish plugs, but I'm going to, and this is about the best of West Hartford. But there are not many businesses in West Hartford who could honestly say that we're celebrating, as Bob said, the 10th anniversary of Best of West Hartford, but that for 10 years, since we started the Best of West Hartford, that they have taken, they've won the category for oh gosh, I should have looked this up before we started. What is it?
Best home improvement
Improvement
contractor.
contractor. I knew contractor is the best home improvement contractor, and that is amazing. And Cathy, the reason why Bob said in the beginning that I talk about, you and Bartlett Brainard a lot. I tell the story all the time that I think you guys are the best marketers, or you take the best opportunity or advantage of being a Best of West Hartford. That bullet is in all your direct mail. It's in your newsletters. It's just it's in your office. It's everywhere that you look. And I really think it says a lot about, we're talking about a multi-generational business here, but we're as you just said, for 40 plus years you've been sitting in that chair.
Right.
So now you're dealing with not only people who your father had taken care of their homes, and now you're taking care of their kids' homes. It's amazing. It's just great.
Well, I think it's nice that you do that, Best of West Hartford, because it's the people's choice, right? It's almost an automatic research button for people.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and I tell them that my staff works really hard towards that Best of WeHa. They really do. They genuinely care, which is really, I think, unusual in the construction field.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny, a lot of the businesses who have placed, not always in the number one spot, but over the course of the last 10 years, it's really the staff. It's really the people who are employed, by those companies who make the difference. This one guy, I him, so I can say it, but Jeff Hodges, who owns Hodges Landscaping, not plugging just Jeff, but his workers, he actually we have to order trophies for every single one of his employees, and then they bring them home and have them on their mantles at home. I mean, it's like,
That's phenomenal. That's a great idea.
I
Might
mean, it's
have to share
amazing.
that.
Yeah, it's like, so they always ask, hey, when's the voting for Best of West Hartford? We got to maintain that, that number one spot. So it's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome. That's
Um,
awesome. Because that's a group of, a lot of these people are working with their hands every day, like as my staff, and they do not get enough kudos for that. They really don't. And they enjoy it, and they like being outside, and they like dealing with the customers, but they don't get enough kudos for the
so
consistent
And
quality.
especially, Kathy, not, I don't claim at all to be a contractor. I'm not a DIY kind of person, but I'm just thinking of your business with the outside of buildings. I mean, water water is horrible. I mean, water just travels. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know where it's going. And I think about that all the time when you're putting up new roofs and windows and siding, and the problems of rot, especially as I always say, this old house in West Hartford, but I mean, there's not
Yes.
a lot of new construction, so it's challenging, absolutely.
So
Okay.
well, you've been around since 1982, you've been doing this, and I'm always intrigued by this because I was a printer. That's why I know Tom for over 40 years. And one of the things that I noticed over time was, obviously the changes in the industry, changes from, what the mechanical part of it that was a mechanical piece to what became a digitized process. And what in your industry has changed? What has changed for you in your industry over those 40 years that has
Right.
made it better and sometimes made it worse, from your opinion?
Um, some of the stuff that's been really helpful as my staff ages, like, back in the day, if I had to rebuild Tom's porch and I wanted to put in some cement piers to make sure it didn't sink. I have to go below frost. That's 42 inches below grade. And we used to have to dig that out. You got the rocks and the roots and breaking your back. And then you'd get it down 42 inches. Then you have to wait for the building department to come and inspect that. And then you fill it up. But meanwhile, tomorrow it rains. I mean, it really was. Now they have these techno metal posts that come in, and the guys don't have to dig anymore, and you don't have to get an inspection because you're getting a report from those techno metal people and then submitting that to the building department. Um, I see a lot of people they want to get a quick fix, so they want to get windows installed or something, and they want it the cheapest way they go, and so they'll pick my brain about what to get, and then they try to get something similar, and then you guys would be fascinated by how many people call me up within a year, 5 years, or whatever it is, and want me to fix what somebody else put in for them. And they just don't see the long-term service after the sale, you know? It's really phenomenal that way. I I don't know that I've seen the digitization of the your printing thing. I haven't had anything as radical as that, but small things like we used to put in tons of storm windows, and then now it's all replacement windows. Yeah, we used to get truckloads of storm windows, and now, I mean, if I sell 10 a year, because it's hard. You can't find anybody to glaze the exterior of your wood windows anymore.
Yeah.
So even
Really?
if you wanted to save those wonderful, charming windows, I just have a customer over on Treeborough, and she's like, the painter came over and said, I'm gonna have to charge you so much labor to try to rehab the outside of these windows. Just buy new windows.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's great. Well, I mean, that's part of the kind of a throwaway society issue because it's cheaper to buy.
Exactly.
Well, and it's good and bad, right? It's cheaper to buy new than it is to try to replace what you already have. That's, the positive is if you're building new, the new construction cost is somewhat less. But if you have something that's architecturally beautiful, then you want to keep that woodwork. Then it now becomes impossible because there's no craftspeople out there, nobody out there anymore to do the work that it's like when getting I'm a shoe guy, so getting my shoes repaired has always become more and more and more difficult as the decades have gone on because no one wants to spend a lot of money on new shoes, and they just throw them away and buy new ones, right? So you get a lot of
Try to
it.
find a place to have your shoes shine, Bob. There you go.
Right,
Bob,
exactly.
like, it's like,
Exactly. So whenever I go to the Manhattan, I go to Grand Central, I go through and I wear my best shoes, and there's always people there, men and women, now shining they shine your shoes. So that's
This probably sounds weird, but I love getting my shoes shine. It's a great foot massage or something.
it is exactly the foot massage thing. Exactly. I almost said that. I almost said the foot massage.
Yeah. So, all right, where
So
we
what
go?
we were saying earlier about people, people think the internet's a value to them to be able to find lower prices. But what you're saying is people go out and they get some shoddy workmanship done, and then they're coming back to you and they're basically spending double what they would have spent initially by using a professional who knows what they're doing, who's going to stand behind their work.
And in a lot of exterior remodeling, you can't be sure they're doing it to code, or you can't be sure they're really doing what they're supposed to be doing. I had a little Italian lady in Newington that called me up. She didn't use us for her roof, but we had done her gutters like 15 years before. She calls me up and she says, the gutters aren't working anymore. And I said, well, Mrs. So-and-so, what's different? I knew she had used somebody else for the roof. And I said, well, your drip edge is too tight. The gutter, and when you do a roof, the components have to work with the other parts of your house. And so after many tears and many conversations and begging, I went out there and I sent somebody to fix the drip edge for her because the guy would not come back. He told her it was fine. And a fairly upstanding guy in Newington too. It was sad. And so we went out there, we fixed what we could, but there was so much wrong with that roof that she's 88. So, we didn't say much, but she didn't have starter strip. I mean, nothing was done to cut. I mean, they just cut so many corners that the average person really needs to know that roof has been done correctly. That's like a huge investment.
Right,
Even
absolutely.
more than like windows and doors, right? I mean, it just has to be done correctly.
Yeah, that's your umbrella. Absolutely. So,
That's
great.
it.
And the other thing I was just thinking too, Cathy, it's not like they certainly knew she wasn't getting up on a ladder. at
Right.
8 years old and going up and checking out what was going on, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing with home improvement, because I mean, as you know more than we would, is that this is your profession, so you know what you're doing. Whereas you're as a consumer, I've had two roofs done in my lifetime, so it's not like we do a lot of, and it's and replacement windows. I think we've done it once. So you're doing it all the time, so you see what the issues that can pop up and understanding what the systemic issues that can arise from not doing it correctly. It looks fine,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean it's done right.
Right. When you paid them, it looks fine, and then comes back to haunt you.
Right.
And that's the difference when you have someone that's not answering the phone, that you're just leaving a voicemail and doesn't return the call. If you're going to be somebody that's not going to try to do it right, you're going to hide from that all the time.
Right.
And to me, it's like so much wasted energy hiding. Why don't you just do it right the first time and be able to look the people in the eye and do the right thing?
Yeah.
It's like the best. So go back to what you said earlier about the best of West Hartford. I think that Tom might have missed this, but it was really true. It's really true that when you get that vote of confidence every year, that's the community saying that we know these people are trustworthy. These people are stand behind their product. They've been here forever, and it is like a BBB kind of thing where you're getting that recognition of the quality work that you've done for your lifetimes, which I think it's amazing. It's amazing to win 10 years in a row. It really is. So
Yeah. Well, I
congratulations.
mean, we have some incredible businesses in this town. It's just we have some wonderful, long-standing companies that, just that we really do have a great
And I
community.
will say this because I think, Cathy, it's in the spirit of what you were saying. You hear a lot of stories where, it's the publisher's top advertiser spending the most money, or it's the publisher's favorite, business in town who wins. And like what I love about the Best of West Hartford is that, as you said, it is the People's Choice Award, and I don't have anything to do with it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, as a matter of fact, Hillary, who's not even with us here, but on this podcast, but Hillary handles the entire voting process and the entire back end, and I see it when everybody else sees it. It's just, it's
Yeah.
really it's important for it to be that way. So that's why when people say to me, geez, I'm mad at you, Tom, because I didn't win. I was like, well, then you didn't get out the vote. It's like, it's just like, so anyway, get people out there to vote. So what we could do, let's finish that thought process. Either on weha.com or Jewish Ledger, anywhere you'll see a Best of West Hartford, digital bullet, that you can click on and you can vote. So if you haven't yet, you should be involved in the Best of West Hartford process, but you should certainly be voting for Bartlett Brainard, who's our guest today, and helping them maintain their #1 spot that they've had
Thank you,
for the
Tom.
last decade. I mean, that's crazy. It's just, But Cathy, when you said 42 years, I almost fell over. It's just like, it's
You
hard
didn't
to
even know
believe.
it was that old, did you,
No,
Tom?
no, no. I'm telling you. Well, I digress again, but I was at a reception a couple weeks ago, and my nephew turned 50 years old. And I was like, how can my nephew be 50 years old? It's like, but when you don't think about it, it's just like, oh yeah, I guess he served as an altar boy in my wedding. He could be. It's like, it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy. So. All right. Well, unfortunately, as I said, this time goes quickly. We are out of time. But most importantly, what I learned today, call Cathy or Bartlett Brainard at their phone number, and you'll get a human being and you can talk to someone. And Cathy, just remind our listeners as to what your phone number is. And that's
Sure.
where I sign
It's
off.
860-233-4475.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. So at this point, just one more thank you out to NBT Bank, who is our sponsor for On the Scene. Without NBT Bank's sponsorship, there would be no podcast. And thank you to our listeners for listening as religiously as they have, and they do wherever they listen to their podcast. So we'll see you next time. Thanks all.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.